Hey everybody, today's topic gets pretty heavy. I did not expect to cry today, but I definitely cried today. And so as a little bit of a forewarning, today we'll be covering topics of torture, of self-harm, of addiction. And so I know that everybody's at a different place in their recovery and mental health journey. And so if those are not topics that you feel comfortable with right now in your journey, that's okay. This might be a good episode to skip. But if that's something that you feel comfortable with and are willing to explore together with us, then I invite you to join along. But we'll get started. Cool. Yes. Morning, Zach.
Okay.
Oh, we were having some conversations before we clicked record about some dream stuff.
Yeah.
And some suggestion stuff. I alluded to you that I was going to share something that I have not shared publicly before, or I don't even think with you. And it all started because you said you had a nightmare. And so I was thinking, I get nightmares too, but I often get, when I get nightmares, they're usually more, in the precognitive stage of sleep. So, if I'm laying down with Ollie, putting him to sleep, and my eyes are closed, I'm not sleeping at all. I'm just waiting for him to fall asleep. But that's when the intrusive images start to happen. Or when I'm laying down in bed and I'm not asleep yet, but that's when the intrusive images start to happen. And there's a theme with them. So whenever I have nightmares, they're very torture driven, right? And I think I've shared some of that topic with you, but never the nightmares. So for me, it's especially if I have something big coming up the next day, especially a Sunday night leading back into Monday, or some big event or speaking engagement or presentation that I got to do, I'll have these just awful torture stuff, and it's just different people in different torturous situations. And the one that I had, I don't think I can even share here. I'll tell you about it later because it was good. But I'm laying in bed and I get this torture image in my head, and I'm like, the hell is this? And so the immediate reaction for me is oh, this is bad. This is really bad. And it's something, it's so messed up, because it really triggers my stuff. And so that night that I was laying in bed, this might have been 2 weeks ago, I'm just my eyes are closed, staring at the ceiling, waiting to fall asleep. And so I was well, wait a minute. I was you're a counselor, you're a hypnotherapist, you know that's not the response. And so I said...
It feels like it, though.
It does feel like it.
Just to validate that, it does. It feels like it. It feels like...
This is bad.
This is bad.
This is really bad. And so I was well, what would you tell one of your clients? I was Stephen King was really well known for his nightmares becoming books. And I was what if you're on to the next, great Saw movie here? And I was okay. And so I spent that time, took myself out of the context, because I always imagined myself as the one being tortured.
Yeah.
And then 2, I was what if you were the author of this story, which clearly your mind is, where would it be going? What happens next? What's the background of the characters? Why are they in this situation? Why are they doing this? And so I explained it. And maybe I can share, just briefly, because I think it's important for the context of the story. The situation was, I imagined in my head that there was this room, right? And inside this room was a child, right? And then the parent of the child had just their head through the wall of the room. And so on the other side of the wall, they were being hurt, right? And so it was just their head. And so the child could see the parent's head, but they're on the other side of the room. And so the whole point was the person would get hurt if the child played with toys that they weren't supposed to play with. And so the parent was supposed to tell the child what toys to play with, because the child couldn't tell. But the parent had to tell the child what toys to play with and what not toys to play with. And if the child didn't get it and played with their own toys, the parent would get hurt. And so I was that's so messed up.
But that's so much of our childhood, right?
Well, and so that was the thing. I was that's bad. And I was wait a minute, what's the story here? I was well, the game was invented by a person. And the backstory in my head, which my brain came up with very quickly, was that the person who put these people in this room had a very abusive childhood.
Yeah.
And his feeling was that he would get punished for things that he didn't understand why he was getting punished. but he'd get punished for doing the wrong things when he didn't understand. And so, as a way for him to process his trauma and to get revenge, he would take bad parents and punish them for the children doing the wrong thing, when many times in growing up, the child's punished for doing the wrong thing. He's like, so for him, it was a justice thing. It's like I was tormented because I had no idea I was doing the wrong thing. I was just being a child.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's time for the parents to pay the punishment, when really it's the kids who get hurt. And so I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, well, now I understand. Because for me, you know, for me in my story, I see my value in being tormented.
Yeah.
So it's like, and make it emotional about it, but it's like when I'm in that scenario, it's like oftentimes throughout my story, like I don't recognize that I have intrinsic value. It's like the story growing up was, the harder I push Jesse, the better that he'll be. And that reflects good on me as a parent. And so it's this balance of how much can I torment Jesse and make life miserable so that way he gets better and better and better without completely breaking him, which is torture.
Torture.
And so when I'm about to start a Monday or have a big presentation, my mind goes to, okay, Jess, how hard can you push yourself right to the edge before you break? And it's like, because that's the value that you give the world.
Well,
that's the belief. And that's what I'm very really working on, obviously.
Yeah. And it's like my first reaction to that was seeing like the creation of that scene is what so many of us do, especially from a hypnotic perspective, especially with kids, is that we create that torturous game because we want our kids to have a better life than us. So if we torture that kid and raise them right, they'll be successful. But then my brain went, but I still do that to my inner child. And so it's not even just the parents, it's like me to me. Like I'm every single one of those characters. I'm the well, I forgot what his name is in the Saw movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't watch them because that's my life.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
For everybody, and Jesse, for you, the torture, like I love horror, but the torture stuff gets me because I've had so many military clients that have been on both sides of that experience.
Yeah.
Everything from people that have been trained to keep people alive while they're being tortured, to people that have been tortured in the most gruesome of ways. Again, more stuff to not say in this.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay big.
But that stuff like really, really gets me, especially when it's a kid. And so just to validate that and for everybody else to see, it's so easy for us to have that dream and be scared. And I think what most people's reaction to it, the outcome of it, is actually to double down on that pattern because it's so scary. I need to fix it. Let's train that kid even harder and even more in order to make it so that, you know, like he doesn't have to go through that. I'm saying he, meaning myself.
Yeah.
Instead of what you just did right there, which is identify the work that needs to be done, identify the work that I need to do in order to make it so that that cycle is broken.
Right.
Because of the reaction. I mean, what is worse than that when you're a parent and you see a kid that's being tortured, or because of the relationship between the kid and the adult is being tortured.
Yeah.
And So
It happens all the time.
I could do more. It's so, like, the suggestion, the hypnotic suggestion is so powerful with that is, I don't want that to happen. So let me just do all of the things to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah, then it becomes the next topic of torture for myself. It's no good. It's no good.
So for everybody else out there, like, what do you, and I'll share too, but what do you do when you're like, you're in it? Like, I'm, again, because of the violence in my life, I have regular PTSD dreams, nightmares, to where, depending on how stressful my life is, I could wake up at 3 a.m. and be sweating, hyperventilating, partner waking me up.
Like, you good?
Yeah. The first time she ever experienced that, she was scared, and I woke up and she was in the other room, and I was like, "Where'd she go?" She's like, "I woke you up, but it was too scary." I had to go in the other room just to finish the night out. And so,
Rough night.
my question for you is, like, all of that is great when we have the time or the energy to process it. But what do you do when you're, like, right in it? Like, I'm not sure if this is real.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, you know, I'm recording this with you now, like, talking about how I understand what it means, but that's taken me months.
Right.
That's taken me months
But
to understand.
It's also taken you years to learn the skill to do that.
To get to the months.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, what do you do in the moment?
Like, what helps? What?
You know, the number one thing, like, that's a quick answer. Like, the number one thing is I have to remember two things. All characters are me.
Yeah.
All the characters are me. And I can see the experience from a different perspective. Because I'm always the one being tortured, because that's my most familiar experience. And so I have to remind myself, it's like, you are currently safe. You are not being tortured. That's one. And then allow myself permission to explore from the other perspectives. And I get this with my clients all the time. Is like, I really do think the only way to counterbalance being tortured is to imagine yourself as the tormentor too, to those that you feel deserve it. And so it's like, unless you embrace the power of the other side, you're kind of doomed to be trapped. And I think moral judgment creates a lot of that. It's like, oh, it's bad to be the tormentor. And it's like, well, but we just talked about it. Like, we are.
Yeah.
To ourselves. And then there's some situations where it's like, well, yeah, there's some people who've done some really terrible things that, you know, I wouldn't mind being the tormentor in that scenario. And so it's like, all characters are me, therefore they're all safe. I'm not currently being tortured. That's number one. And then giving permission to explore.
Safety, yeah.
Yeah, I have to know I'm safe first. Well, that's key, because, like, you know, hyperventilating, sweating, heart pounding is an appropriate response if that's the situation you're truly in. You have to get out. But if you're laying at home in bed, you know, next to your wife, you're probably okay. So reminding yourself, I'm safe right now. There's some space to think this through.
So, I mean, yes. But, like, there's been times when I haven't been safe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't help somebody who's actively being traumatized.
Yeah.
There has to be space for safety first.
And I think that that's one of the things that nightmares, when you're in that kind of in-between space, where it's like, maybe I'm safe today, but I know later today or tomorrow I won't be safe. Because I'm putting myself back in that that pattern, or back in that space. And also the pattern could be, or the unsafe, the safe, not safe situation can oftentimes be psychological and not just like physical.
Yeah.
To be clear, it's like I'm safe when I wake up in my bed, but I'm going to go to work and my bully is going to be there. What would you say to that person? It's like, I'm not safe, or I believe that I'm not safe.
There's a lot of people who live in that reality.
Yeah.
Well, I think one, I don't know, because I think I respect the story too much of like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I think that's
good.
I think that's part of it is like, I'm torturing myself because I need to do this. I need to push harder. I need to be better. I need to not let this affect me. And so one, I'm going to kind of refuse to tell someone what to do because I know they're going to use that as ammunition to torment themselves more.
Yeah.
But if you're asking if it was me, like if I was in that situation, what would I do? If I really have to, I'm going to think about the different characters I can play instead of just playing the victim. What other characters can I play?
Yeah.
And I'll also think that like
what characters need to be brought into the situation?
Yeah.
Or what characters you could play that are already there?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Well, I think I'm very used to being the tormented, right? And so it's easy for me to view everything from that lens, but there's also like the Messiah, right? Like I could play that character of like I'm being crucified because I know that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm putting things into perspective. I could also be the martyr who's like looking forward to the death because that means that it's over. I could also play the the kind and playful dad.
Yeah.
It's like I'm the T-Rex and, I get my little dude and I'm like, I'm going to eat you. And then I blow raspberries on his belly. And it's like, I'm torturing him with tickles. So I think adding some different perspective for me, if it's my story, helps a lot. But then also thinking about if this was my friend, how would I treat them too? If they had a really long day, I'm also not going to make them answer emails when they get home. They need space to
just
be kind.
That was the word that came to my head is space. Space. Is just like, how do you create space for that, well, taking a step back. One of the things in this type of scenario is I talk about this a lot with my clients, is that instead of saying like this is a good emotion or this is a bad emotion, I like to say this is a comfortable emotion and this is an uncomfortable emotion. Because a lot of times, like, I mean, even in my own work, I'm very comfortable at war. Like that's more safe to me than peace. That's more comfortable to me. That's the warrior archetypes, especially, just like fighting and over masculine and all of that. I'm so comfortable in that space because I was, not just by my parents, but by society, groomed that's how I should prove my value. Is if I can
fighting all the time.
Yeah, just fighting and fighting and fighting. And so that's actually something that's helped me a lot with my nightmares, is saying like, am I comfortable with this or am I uncomfortable with this, rather than it being this was a good dream or this was a bad dream.
Yeah, I don't think that's helpful.
No, and it also creates space for it to be like, yeah, that dream was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, that implies and gives the hypnotic suggestion of I can grow there.
Yeah.
I can have space there.
I think I'll add to that too. I had a therapist that I was working through this topic with in particular. The years of work to get to the point where it took me 3 months to figure it out. Who validated, because I was trying to make it a thing, like a therapeutic goal for those like torture topics to not bother me anymore. And the therapist stopped me and said like, well, listen, is that something you really care about? They're like, you want to be comfortable with like people being tormented?
Yeah.
And like, we can work on that. Like there is a step process and a model that we could use to work on that. But it's like, is that something that matters? And I was like, no, not really. Then he's like, then maybe just don't read about, watch, explore topics of torture. They don't make you happy.
Well,
I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, that's so simple. And I was just like, so I just don't watch torture movies. It's like brilliant.
but it is uncomfortable. Like it and that's the point. I think that or at least one side of that coin is like that thing is uncomfortable. Like, let's not make it comfortable, and that's what needs to happen sometimes.
Right.
Like, right. I don't want to be comfortable with torturing kids.
No.
I don't want to be comfortable torturing my yeah.
I think I'm good. But I think for me it was the cultural trance, right? Like everyone loves those movies. They're like got a huge following. And so it's like, well, what's wrong with me? It's like, well, you've had some different experiences, Jess. You've had some different experiences, Zach. Like, I mean, it's just not a worthwhile goal for you. And then, believe it or not, I had a client who told me this. This is probably the most profound thing a client's ever said to me. They had DID, multiple personalities, and sometimes those with multiple personalities, I don't think I've had comments that have shaken me as much as my DID clients do. And they said,
Absolutely.
They said, if I can get through it without bawling, the painful experiences you went through didn't make you amazing. You were already amazing. It's like, damn, you got me there.
That's beautiful.
Because I think so many times it's like, well, I've had all these experiences that were terrible. And so it's like I have the ability to do things that other people don't because of those experiences. And the client was just like, no, I think you're already amazing. I was like, well, I'm going to have to think about that.
So true.
It was so funny is like they pointed out, they're like, you've said that to me. So I'm just saying it back to you. I was like, I did? Like, yeah, you did. I was like, well, past Jesse, I think's a pretty smart guy. But it's like, yeah.
And how much of our time do we make those suggestions? Like, man, that's what just hit me when you said that. It's like, how many minutes or hours or days of my life have made the situation of, have I made the suggestion to myself of deficiency because of something external? Like, I'm deficient because that happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm deficient because of something about me. That could probably be described as torture.
Yeah.
I had that kind of epiphany for everybody this morning when this really, really terrible dream last night that I don't want to go into, but definitely woke up early. Definitely sweating, angry, ready to fight, and kind of sat with it for a bit. And then when I got to the office, I texted my wife and said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about this." And her immediate response was, and this is going back to suggestions that we get throughout our life, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" No, I just want to talk to you about it. Like, it revealed a different side, a different shadow side of insecurities that she already knows about. But in her care for me, actually gave me the suggestion that that dream is not okay. That I might not be okay because of that dream. And I think that the epiphany part of it is how much that it's suggested to us to be comfortable with certain emotions, and how I am bad if I am uncomfortable with other emotions.
Mm.
And it was quite eye-opening. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just so eye-opening about how there's this person that cares for me so much, that wants to make sure that I'm okay, that is suggesting that I ought not to be okay.
Mm.
And that the standard is that I'm not okay if I'm uncomfortable. And going back to that is that those new characters, those new archetypes, I think are able to come into our psyche, into our dreams, when we create the space to be like, this is an uncomfortable situation. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, for lack of better words, because this one is the best. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I also wonder too how much of that is ourselves, right? Like, are you okay is a nice thing, and it could offer the opportunity for you to validate I am okay, and give you that empowerment. But at the same time, I think oftentimes, and I got to give credit to my wife for doing this to me. Like, I'll be like, oh, I have to do these things tonight, and she kind of like challenges, like, do you really? She's like, you could actually just not do those things and like take a break.
It's the principle underneath it that's so powerful, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, are you okay? It's like, yeah, I am okay.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes in that question, we can read a subconscious cue that may not be there.
Oh, absolutely. No. It is absolutely the sin of the highest order for me not to be okay for the people that I care about the most. They can't see me as not okay.
Yeah. And so I think I love that she asked you that question, because it's like, maybe just, no, I'm not okay.
Yeah. Or whatever it is.
And maybe that's okay to not be okay. It's a t-shirt. It's really popular out there. You seen that one?
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay to not be okay.
No, I like this one. Everybody's like, the fit for today's show.
This is my human costume. I'm actually an alien.
Got it at thrift stores. Tag still.
I love it. It adds.
I'm going with that theme. I'm almost always way more comfortable in a space where it should be uncomfortable.
And it's so tricky too, because like there's a very subtle difference between growth and torture.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like torture is pain without a purpose. Growth is pain with a purpose. So I'm not going to stop doing painful things. Like that's not the solution to this problem. But sometimes the painful thing is taking a break. And sometimes the painful thing is saying, I'm not doing this for torturing myself so I'm valuable to others. I'm doing this because this is the way I want to grow as a person. And so it's like, I said to myself that 2025 was going to be the year of networking and marketing for me, because that's an uncomfortable space.
Yeah.
And it has been, and it's been very successful, but there's two ways that I could approach it. I'm going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to become better at marketing and networking. But I can do it one route of, it's good to torture yourself this way, Jesse, because you'll be better leader of the team, and that will make everybody a better paycheck. Or you can be like, hey, you get one chance to live life, and you get to do whatever you want to do with it. Is that a goal that you'd like for yourself? Because you can make slow and uncomfortable progress towards that goal. Yeah, I would like to feel more confident in who I am and the value that I bring, allowing me to be better at networking and marketing. Same thing, but one is a healthy route and one's an unhealthy route. But we might... So like the stuff that you do doesn't have to change, right? Because I feel like I see that so much online of like, well, self-care and, being kind to yourself and self-love. And it's like, I love that and I agree with it fundamentally, but that doesn't mean that your goal needs to change of like working less hours.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have to work a lot of hours.
But can you make that decision? Is that conscious or is it just a habit?
Right. Can you do that in a healthy way?
I remember the first time years ago, probably 15 years ago,
Yeah.
the first time I was really like forced to pay attention to that principle was a client that self-harmed.
Oof.
And they told me one time, they said, and the semantics of this I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. There's nothing more exhilarating than cutting and getting as close as you possibly can. And it struck me just because of that. It's like, one, the only exhilarating thing in this person's life is to hurt themselves. And I was like, yeah. In a different way. I've never had that issue. But I was like, I feel that. The only exhilarating way or thing in my life, and many times in my life, has been, what can I do? What else can I do?
Yeah.
How can I win? And so, like, that was brutal to come to that reckoning with that idea of, I mean, it is exhilarating. Do you have a choice about this? Are there other options that you find exhilarating? No? Okay. And so going back to what you were saying is this something that I have to do? That like, I don't know, it's got this like feeling of it's like a corkscrew or something like that, like going into my soul of, if you can withstand this pain, then you can do anything kind of energy. Versus, I might need to get stuff done, but I don't have to use a corkscrew to motivate myself to do it.
And that's usually what the Sunday night reframe looks like. Yeah. Is like, isn't this what you want to do? Yeah, it is what I want to do. Well, maybe you can just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that'll end in the same result. And it does. It does. Like, doing what I want to do ends in the same result. Because I've done enough work to kind of eliminate the addictions and the toxic coping, right, and the self-sabotage and the self-denial. It's like I've worked through enough of that stuff that, like, just doing the things that I want to do yields a really positive result, you know. Because sometimes people say, like, well, if I just did what I want to do, you know, I'd drink all day, and
that's not what you want to do.
That's not actually what you want to do. No. You know, if I did what I want to do, I'd cut all day. No, that's not actually what you want to do. I don't believe that. No. And so I've done enough work where it's like, yeah, doing the things I want to do leads to the same result as torturing myself. Just don't torture yourself anymore. I've tortured myself for a very long time, so it becomes very easy. Yeah.
And tying that back to just hypnosis is, we're talking about going to this space inside the psyche that I think is probably one of the most sacred, like, if not the most, one of the most sacred places I think that we can be and create space for.
Yeah.
And approaching that with, when I asked you, like, what do you say to that person? What you did was you just created space for those parts.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes I think that that's exactly what hypnosis does, is it makes it so that all of the programmed, conditioned, groomed aspects of us that say, like, no, it has to be this way. This is what we do. There's actually a story that I had. People using corkscrews in torture. I can imagine how those corkscrews were used metaphorically is that space.
Yeah.
And creating that space that is safe, I think, is such a skill that a lot of people that do trauma work miss out on, because what they're doing is they're trying to just, like, metaphorically what we're talking about today. They're just trying to fix the symptoms. So what? Let's change your diet before you go to sleep. Like, let's make it so that these bad dreams go away. And I think that what you're saying, and what I would challenge everybody on, is like, instead of like, how do you make it go away? How do you create the space for it to be whatever it is communicating? And hypnosis.
Yeah. Right. Because I hear a lot of therapists say hold space and they just don't do shit.
Right. It's not doing anything.
That's different.
It's actually very proactive. If
Yes.
you're actually holding space, what you need to be doing is something that's very proactive. I think that's what hypnosis does, is it says,
Yeah.
okay, prefrontal cortex, like, I get you, I hear you, you can be right here, because you kind of get in the way of things sometimes. We need you there to protect us.
Right.
But right now we're going to be actively creating that space to make it so that all of this other stuff over here that's so uncomfortable can be looked at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just looked at.
I feel that all the time with my clients, where it's like, I forget what superhero it is, but like, I don't know, the only one I could think of is from Disney, right? In the Incredibles, you know, you got the Invisible Girl, like she can also make the like dome force field. It's like, it feels like that. I also know there's a Marvel character that can do it. It's like, is it Doctor Strange or someone else? I don't know. Someone's got to tell me. One of y'all who understand that stuff better than I do. But it feels like that, right? Of like, I'm creating this bubble of like, everything's still coming in, but it's like this bubble. And, you know, I think a lot of people who are listening to this are going to think that I'm talking about them, but it's about everybody. Like, I've had so many people that I've worked with and talked to that in the process of therapy, they're like, yeah, you know, something, I think I'm a bad person. And I was like, well, okay. And I was like, maybe you're a bad person. Let's just hold space for that. And you're like, what is a bad person? Because I think if you're a bad person, we should probably figure that out. That's kind of important to know.
Yeah.
Like, what if you are a bad person? And so they're like, I'm probably a bad person. Then they move on. It's like, well, wait a minute. Let's hold space for it. And so I was like, define a bad person. I've had this with many people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what's a bad person? And they're like, well, this and this and this. And, you know, I'm like, well, let me ask some questions. Let me explore more. I was like, oh, so this is important to you. This is important to you. Well, you've answered some questions. Are you a bad person? They're like, well, according to that, no. I was like, okay, then don't say that shit anymore. And don't say stupid stuff in my counseling room. You know, and I'm kind of aggressive about it because I think it needs to be, you know, aggressively defended against. It's like, you're not a bad person anymore, so don't say that. I was like, we looked at it logically. I was like, now let's hold space for you're uncomfortable. And other clients who, like, you know, denying that their trauma was that bad. I was like, well, let's talk about it. Does it matter? Is it bugging you? Does it make it difficult to live your day? Yes. Then I don't care about whether it was bad enough or not bad enough.
Yeah.
It's valid enough to be in here, so stop. Slow down. Because then they try and move on.
They're just so uncomfortable in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what holding space looks like. It is very active. Very active. Yeah. It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to be whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know where else to go from there.
Yeah. It's a great place to stop.
Yeah. Maybe next time we'll get to the fish in the big wave.
Yeah.
I had a good dream.
Yes. I would like that a lot.
Yeah. It was a good dream. Big fish in a big wave. And the boat was driving backwards. It was good.
Jesse, boats don't drive backwards.
My boat drives backwards. I don't know what to tell you. I was on it. It was driving backwards. I got confused. I had like this, my boat stopped working. And so I had to tow my boat with a rope that I had in a backpack. You know, but I was towing it backwards, right? Because I hitched the rope to the front of the boat. And so I was pulling my boat. And so I was driving backwards to get my boat back to the dock so I could fix it. Right? And so the storm came in and there's these big waves. And so I was doing good. I was managing the waves well, right? But I veered a little bit, you know, what would have been, you know, what would that have been? The port side of the boat. I went a little bit far that way because, you know, when you're driving backwards, it's backwards. And so I was a little in the weeds, but I came back. And as I was going over these big waves, because you have to hit them straight, you can't hit them sideways to tip the boat over. I saw like the lightning was in the back and it lit up the water. And there's a big fish swimming through the wave. And so I finally made it back to the port and I fixed my boat. But sometimes life be throwing some big waves at you, you know?
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. What do you think?
Every time.
Every time, sure. Yeah. I thought there was a sexual metaphor there. You're like, big waves, Jess.
Nice.
I thought that was the joke you're alluding to.
No, especially based on our conversation today, I'm so much more aware of all of the cultural implications. Like, I want to say, like, why didn't you keep your boat up? Why did it break? And then you needed somebody else to come help you. Not even a real man that you can get fix your shit.
I feel it. I gotta fight against those shadow voices.
You obviously don't know what you're doing if you're going backwards. That's really dangerous, man. Like, you should never put yourself in that position.
Just go forwards.
Yeah, just go forwards. Like, what are you thinking?
All the cultural implications.
And
Yuck. It makes me
need,
nauseous, you saying them.
Why do you need a port to fix your boat? Like, you really fucked up about this.
Those are the voices. Those are the voices. I'm physically uncomfortable. You saying those things.
Yeah, me too. That's why I was like, because I can empathize with that dream so much.
Yeah.
That,
Lots of water in my dreams. Mine are less violent than yours, but there's always lots of water.
blood.
That's the water in your dreams.
Kind of the same.
Similar. Similar, yeah. But that was great.
Now we got everybody's interest about that.
I gotta go clear my eyes for my next meeting. He is an emotional roller coaster on that one.
Yeah.
Big waves.
It's uncomfortable, and parts of it are comfortable, and
Yeah.
got a lot of suggestions.
Yep. You too. Until next time, everyone. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.